I perceive, if you want to go with like, Tutor, or which is currently known as by X, these are the tool where you come up with the latest knowledge about, if in term of marketing perspective, these social media are the giant. They have a huge data that you can't even imagine, especially all the social media platform, whether it's like X, whether it's like Facebook, whether it's like Snapchat, all these within themselves, they why they are selling. Even you heard the rumors that Facebook are selling our data. Why they're selling? Because that's data is basically, they transmit to the what kind of product that the consumer or customers they are needed more. So these social media, they are the giant when it comes to data driven approach.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other question from the audience? I have 1 more minute, by the way. Thank you very much. So I'm going to conclude my presentation and my knowledge here. Like I have shared very little, by the way, due to the time constraint, but it was fun to be a part of this conference. And thank you for organizing such an amazing event, and hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Nadia, for that insightful presentation.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So now let's move to our next keynote profile, Dr. Ayoub Regragui. Dr. Ayoub is a scholar specializing in applied linguistics, language learning, and a contributor to modern methodologies in linguistic research. His topic is AI-based educational platforms and cultural disparities, a critical reading of a digital inequality in the South Global. With that, let us warmly welcome Dr. Ayoub.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
All right. Can you... All right, very good. Good morning. A researcher at Mohammed V University in Morocco. And since I'm coming from the background of applied linguistics, I choose to talk about AL based educational platforms and cultural disparities, a critical reading of digital inequality in the global South. The structure organization of this presentation proceeds through a sequence of interrelated parts, which I'm going to show now. So the outline is, I will start with an introduction and rationale, research aims and questions, theoretical background, methodology, problem statement, findings and analysis, ethical and epistemic reflections, and I will conclude by a recommendation. So let's begin by understanding why this topic is particularly urgent at this moment. All right. So Morocco, there is a rapid expansion of AI-based educational platforms. AI is moving more towards education, and education becomes very faster than policies and classrooms can keep up. So making a critical examination becomes a very urgent step. The second point, which is important to my understanding, that there is a persistent digital inequality in the global South. So AI does not land on equal ground, and there is a sort of inequality existing inequalities in terms of accessibility, skills, and infrastructure shape who benefits. So there's this sort of inequality in terms of the technological accessibility across the global south. The third point to be mentioned in this regard as well, that there is a need for culturally grounded assessment. So we're talking here about tools. There are some tools that are designed elsewhere in the north, and we must assess whether they actually align with our, and I use our between quotes here, our cultural and educational realities. Okay, the fourth point, since I'm coming from Morocco, Morocco's sociocultural content is characterized by its multilingualism, and there is a sort of unequal landscape which makes contextualization essential. So AI won't fit, to my understanding, automatically. So there should be differences and challenges. Given these pressing reasons, let me now move into the broader rationale behind this study and explain how I position the inquiry. So the research aims the research here it tended to examine the disparities embedded in AI platforms. So, for example, these tools often carry hidden cultural, linguistic, and representational biases that disadvantage global South learners. The second objective was to understand the digital inequality in global South context, and I'm to show how this accessibility or skills and usage patterns shape who benefits from AI and who is left behind. The third objective was to reveal tensions between global AI design and local pedagogies, which means that this research tried to uncover the misalignment between what we call universalized AI assumptions and the specific teaching and learning realities of Moroccan classrooms. So to contextualize these findings and implications, it is helpful, to my understanding, to revisit, to recapitulate these key questions that shaped the direction of this research. So these are the research questions. So the first, so to answer these questions meaningfully, let me state them first. So the first question was, how well do AI platforms align with cultural linguistic realities? Second was, what risks are associated with this disparity? The third, what frameworks support culturally inclusive AI design? So to answer these questions meaningfully and constructively, the study drew on several theoretical frameworks that helped me illuminate or shed light on how AI operates within this unequal kind of global structures. So let me walk you through these foundations just briefly. So sorry, let me move here. Okay, so to analyze this research question, it is crucial to situate AI within the broader theoretical debates about power, inequality, and representation. AI systems do not emerge in a vacuum. So they're shaped by global political economics, by cultural assumptions embedded in the data, and by the infrastructures through which they operate. So this is an essential element. In this section, then I draw on four main key frameworks. So the first one was data colonialism by Cloudry and Majas, 2019. So the data colonialism refers here to the extraction of human life and social activity as raw material for data-driven capitalism. The core concept here is that digital systems extend colonial logics by appropriating human experiences as data. So the relevance here is that AI educational platforms extract Moroccan student data. So this is a very critical point to mention in this regard. So and within the same line of thought, it reinforces dependency on global North tech infrastructures. So, for example, that frame which frames AI adoption as part of a larger geopolitical asymmetries. The second concept is the digital inequality. So the digital inequality is a multi kind of dimensional phenomenon that includes not only access, but also skills, autonomy, and types of use, and social stratification. The core idea here, not all users can benefit equally from digital tools. So there is this inequality that is being reproduced through usage and differences. The relevance why I choose to apply this concept, that it explains the gaps between, talking about Moroccan context, it explains the gaps between Moroccan urban and, for example, urban and rural AI adoption. So which can help interpret my students, why, for example, students rely differently on, let's say, for example, ChatGPT. Okay, the third concept is algorithmic oppression, which this concept reflects and amplify existing social hierarchies, which can produce bias and discriminatory outcomes. The core idea here is that search engines, for example, AI systems, encode racism, sexism, and sometimes colonial stereotypes. So the relevance here that AI platforms used, for example, in Morocco, may misrepresent or could sometimes undervalue local identities, those small identities that characterize the unity of the country. So, which can reinforce the argument that AI is not neutral. It highlights risks of cultural erasure in Global South, and Morocco is no exception. The fourth concept, which I should think is also relevant to this research, that there is an AI bias vis-a-vis fairness. So there is an empirical evidence which shows that AI models perform significantly worse. So the core idea is that AI accuracy is discriminatory when data sets lack demographic diversity. Okay, so to move forward, now that we've established these theoretical foundations, it is important to anchor this discussion within Moroccan context, which presents particularly a rich and complex landscape for examining AI in education. So this is the contextual position. So the first point, that Morocco's multiculturalism challenges AI, not built for example, let's say Arabic, Amazigh. Amazigh is a dialect in Morocco. It's used, it's considered to be the first language of the first Moroccans. And we have what we call Darija. Darija, it's our social kind of Moroccan Arabic. It's not like the what we call Fusha, which is the official Arabic that is spoken by all Arab countries. But Darija is like a local kind of Arabic. The second is that COVID-19 accelerated digital reforms, which exposed systematic gaps. Okay, and having reliance on foreign tech limits can limit cultural and data sovereignty, which is also an important part. And the fourth is that there is a real potential to build localized kind of Moroccan AI solutions. Okay, so let me briefly outline now the methodological approach that shaped this study. So so I relied exclusively on document analysis. We tried to examine policy papers, strategic frameworks, and global AI guidelines. So in particular, I reviewed Moroccan policy frameworks. So to to understand how the nation positions AI within its educational vision, its, for example, cultural landscape, and its digital aspirations. Let me now turn to the key findings that emerged from this analysis. I mean, analyzing the Moroccan and global policy landscape. So the findings as follows. So the first, there is a cultural misalignment. So AI gives Western central examples like US, UK, classroom norms, literature, history. So the developed sort of countries back is always being invested on when it comes to those digital production and reproduction. So there is a little to no support for example, Amazigh language or Darija in Morocco, causing this sort of cultural misunderstanding. The second finding is that there is a digital inequality. Urban students, for example, use AI more effectively than rural students. And we raise this question of accessibility, that I stated earlier, which has been framed by the theoretical foundation I stated earlier as well. So students, for example, with French, English proficiency benefit more. So skills, the problem of skills and usage gap, for example, is also being raised here. The third is this algorithmic bias. The global evidence, for example, highest error rates for dark-skinned groups, as stated in the theory I mentioned earlier. Moroccan identities are underrepresented. There is this sort of risk of misclassification and exclusion. The fourth finding is data colonialism. I mean, AI platforms extract Moroccan user data, but give no local control. Okay, so there is this kind of dependence on foreign platforms, which reinforce this digital dependency. So there is no local kind of digital specificity that can create this kind of literacy. I mean, media literacy or technological literacy. The fifth finding is this student over-reliance on ChatGPT, which use to bypass language barriers in French, English, and courses. So, which can lead to concerns about authenticity, or critical thinking, and equality. So these findings are not just to give, they're not just technical issues, but they raise this deeper kind of ethical and epistemic questions about how, for example, AI operates in educational spaces. So let's now look at these underlying concerns. So the ethical and epistemic reflections, the first one is that AI biases disadvantaged underrepresented groups. We're talking about those voice, sort of those who are not given voice in the kind of small identity, those identities are not being represented adequately. I mean, AI biases disadvantaged underrepresented groups. Second one is that Western epistemologies dominate AI-generated knowledge, which is also a critical point here to mention in this regard. The third is that student data leaves Morocco, which creates a sort of sovereignty concerns. We're talking about the unity of the country and how culture and our, to use, if I dare to use the word our, cultural specificities as Moroccans, this creates a sort of this endangered the concepts of sovereignty and the cultural unity. The fourth is that AI risks reshaping local pedagogy and culture. So having considered, for example, these ethical and epistemic tensions, we can now draw together the kind of broader conclusions that emerge from this study. All right, so here are some research recommendations. So the first recommendation that it concerns or what is technological, I mean, design oriented. So to develop localized AI models, I mean, developing, for example, Moroccan trained AI models is essential so that our Moroccan linguistic and cultural realities are reflected in the system our students use, our students learn, because this is not a passive learning, but it's learning that is gone through a process of acquiring cultural knowledge. Okay, that's why it is very much critical to stress these ideas. The second point is that to conduct, for example, bias audits on AI tools, like for example, regular bias audits can probably help us detect where current platforms misrepresent or disadvantage, for example, learners, especially those from underrepresented groups. The third is to investigate culturally responsive AI pedagogy, and this is a technical term used in applied linguistics. I mean, we need to research into how AI, for example, can support rather than just override local teaching styles and culturally grounded classroom practices. The fourth is to explore ethical, like, for example, AI by design frameworks. For example, those embedding ethics into AI design from the beginning can ensure, for example, transparency, fairness, and inclusion, to make sure that it is not only an optional, but it is fundamental. It's not only a choice, but it is an obligation. Okay. The other part of the recommendation that it concerns social and policy education. Number one is to strengthen digital equal policies. Like, for example, digital equity policies must address these disparities in infrastructure, access, and digital literacy. So AI benefits are not only limited to certain privileged people, but they are accessed, I mean, fairly, okay, and equally. The second is to develop national guidelines for AI use in education. This arbitrariness, and sorry to use the term, there is a sort of arbitrariness that is happening in terms of how AI is being perceived. I mean, a clear national guideline can help institutions integrate AI responsibly by protecting student data and, for example, ensuring that culture is appropriately used. Those cultural specifics are appropriately used and learned from. Okay. The third is to investigate teacher roles in AI integration. I mean, understanding, for example, how teachers adapt to AI and what supports they need is also crucial. All right. So having identified the key policy implications, it is important now to consider, for example, how these insights can guide future inquiry and further development in the AI educational landscapes. So these are the policy-wise implications, which I think important. I mean, the first one is culture and linguistic inclusion AI policy. So, for example, AI policy in Morocco must explicitly integrate culture and linguistic diversity. AI systems cannot serve our learners if they are not designed with Arabic, which is our language, Amazigh, which is our language, and Darija, which is our language, in mind. So this is important. The second one is data governance vis-a-vis or versus digital sovereignty. I mean, there is an urgent need to strengthen Morocco's data governance framework. So this is, for me, very much important and critical. So this is just some directions for future inquiry for those who are interested in pursuing research or further the research in the future. So the first one, they can, for example, work on localized AI design and linguistic integration. Second, ethical governance, bias auditing, and data sovereignty. The third suggestion, for example, pedagogical impacts and classroom practices. Thank you very, very much. And these are some resources that I thought probably important to read just for your future record. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ayoub. If any participant have any question, they can raise their hand.
Hello, Dr. Ayoub. Thank you for
Yes.
this very informative session. And
Yeah.
you pointed out a very, interesting topic, AI-based education platform and cultural disparities. Since I'm from India, and constantly we have 22 languages and more than 121 languages we speak in India. So you pointed out, suggested a very good thing, that is ethical governance. So I wanted to understand, like a diverse country like India, how we can, prepare any ethical governance document like that can help these private players who are generally developing these AI-based, tools. What is your take? Like we have so many languages in India, how we can develop, this kind of ethical governance? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is really a very good question. Introducing language, it's a sensitive issue. To introduce language sensitive ethical governance in AI, for example, in India. It should begin first with recognizing that language officially. This is a very important step. It is not just a communication tool. It is also a political choice. It's a career of, because when we talk about language, we're talking here about culture, identity, epistemology. And this requires a certain challenging, step. So, like, for example, in Morocco, Darija has been recognized officially. It wasn't used. It didn't used to be like an official language. Now it is used as an official. So there should be a political step. So it should start by recognition. In multi-language contexts like India, for example, which I know not very much, but I'm aware that the multicultural, richness that characterizes the country. AI platforms, must be governed by policies that mandate this inclusivity of all national languages in the country. So ethical governance in this case means requiring AI assistants to, for example, adapt to linguistic plurality. So there should be a sort of linguistic characteristics that bring into the service this linguistic plurality, not only reinforcing and enforcing the monolingual norm, only one language, but you should give this richness in terms of plurality that should be adopted practically. This can be done by, for example, building national AI education in the country. Like guidelines that prioritize, for example, linguistic representation in training centers, for example, the one that respect, for example, culturally responsive content. It's also important. And those local stakeholder participation, especially educators on language communities. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, hi. Hello, Dr. Ayoub. This is Indranil
Hi.
Mukherjee from India. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ayoub, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much for this interesting topic. I have only one question, sir. How do we ensure transparency and explainability of AI decisions in educational platforms used for high-stake outcomes?
Yeah, I mean, this is also a very important question, actually. Thank you very much for the question. I mean, it entails technical, endeavors and technical as far and also conceptual. Steps to respect. To ensure, for example, transparency in AI-based education platforms, especially in contexts like Morocco, India, which are characterized by their multiculturalism. We must move beyond, technical explanations. This is important because this is coming. AI is coming. AI is there. We cannot just, we're not going to wake up early in the morning and find that AI does not exist anymore. It's there. We must move beyond these technical, explanations toward institutional accountability. There are now, there are techniques through which we can, digital techniques through which we can guide this and check whether the knowledge production is transparent. This includes, for example, policy transparency. Ministries and institutions should, for example, require clear and publicly available guidelines that everyone knows about. So there should be guidelines to like norms and the regulations to respect. You see what I mean? So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ayoub.